You might be familiar with the concept of commemorative coins, a special coin issued by a country made to commemorate a certain event. The Romans were no strangers to this concept. They were probably the first to truly master the issue of commemorative coins as a way of mass state propaganda. What surprises me, however, is that even in some of its darkest moments, the Romans issued such types of coins. The year is 268 AD, and the empire is in pretty terrible shape. Emperor Gallienus is desperately trying to keep the empire together from fragmenting into separatist states, while at the same time doing the best that he can against the pressure by the peoples beyond the frontier. This disastrous situation led to a complete economic collapse, and the coins issued by Gallienus are a clear example of how bad it all was. When he became emperor in 253, his coins were roughly 30% silver and still had a somewhat decent appearance. In 268, however, they just looked like copper coins, poorly made and with a pitiful 3 to 5% silver content in them. Yet, in such bad times, the mint workers at Rome managed to pull together a series of commemorative coins that numismatists call today the Zoo series. Well, the word commemorative might not be the appropriate one. There wasn't really anything to celebrate. These coins make reference to the main Roman pantheon of gods, depicting on the reverse different types of animals that were related to these gods. They also have very similar legends, with the name of the god followed by the slogan Conservatori Augusti, or the protector of our emperor. There are quite a few interesting theories as to why this commemorative issue was created. Some scholars say that it's likely that big games were organized in Rome at that year in an attempt to improve morale amongst the citizenry, and these games were dedicated to the gods. So this coin issue is part of the propaganda move these games were meant to represent. Another very plausible answer is simply that this issue is just another display of the Romans asking their gods for help and protection. We see the Romans as this very civilized people, fond of urban life, and we might erroneously attribute to them a level of rational thought they didn't really practice. They were highly superstitious, like all the other civilizations of the time, so the coins could be just that, a cry for divine help. In any case, this is a very fun and affordable series that every collector can assemble, since these coins are so common. Some gods and animals are rarer than others, but most are abundant and within the means of every collector really. So let's have a look at some of these coins today. Let's first quickly glance over the obverse. Its design is the exact same for all of the coins in this issue and consists of a simple bust of the emperor, wearing the typical radiate crown. The legends are also very straightforward. It reads Gallienus Augustus, Gallienus Emperor. Very straight to the point and skipping all of the other honorary titles Gallienus had, for the sake of simplifying the production of these coins as much as possible, allowing die engravers to sculpt lots of dies in quick succession and churn out from the mint as many coins as possible. Now let's get to the fun part, the reverses. First, let's look at the coins dedicated to the goddess Diana, the Roman interpretation of the Greek Artemis. She was the protector of the woodlands, the countryside and nature. As we can see in this example, a gazelle was picked as her symbolic animal. The legends read, Dianae Conservatori Augusti. Despite her not being the most important goddess, for some reason her coins are by far the most common of the whole series, and the reason isn't really clear for us. Next, we look at Apollo, the god of music, of beauty, art, and prophecy. He even shares with the god Sol the title of patron god of the sun itself. For the coins commemorating Apollo, we see the introduction of mythological animals as well. That's what makes this series even more interesting. It shows real animals and mythological beings. So for Apollo, here's an example with a centaur, a creature half man, half horse that protected nature. As you can see, it holds a bow and arrow. Coins celebrating Apollo also depict a griffin. This wonderful creature had the body, tail, and back legs of a lion, while its head was that of an eagle, and it also had a pair of wings, and its front paws were replaced by 2 talons. Certainly one of the coolest ones of the series in my opinion. The legends for both types read, Apollini Conservatori Augusti. We then go to Sol, the sun god himself. Solar deities were originated in the Middle East, but the Greeks and the Romans worshipped this god and incorporated it into their pantheon, being particularly popular amongst the soldiers. The Greeks called him Helios, while the Romans called him Sol. For the coins of the sun god, we have a Pegasus, such a lovely design as well. It was said that the sun was pulled across the sky by a chariot with 4 winged horses, so the choice of this animal for this coin is very appropriate. In the legends, we read, Soli Conservatori Augusti. Some rarer issues celebrating Sol feature a bow. Bows are considered symbols of fertility and offered as a sacrifice for the gods. Since I don't have an example of this particular type, you will forgive me if I put a picture of an example here. These ones carry a considerable premium over the other type, so if you ever find one in a good price, grab it. Moving forward, we have Jupiter, the king of the gods. Typically, an eagle is used to symbolize Jupiter, meant to represent power and authority. But for this commemorative issue, we have a goat. Before Jupiter became king amongst the gods, his father, Kronos, ruled over heavens. Being very jealous, Kronos devoured all of his sons and daughters as they were born. The newborn Jupiter was hidden away by his mother and taken to an island where a goat took care of him. Its name was Amalthea. It was thanks to her and her milk that Jupiter was able to grow strong and defeat his father. And that's why the goat is also closely associated with Jupiter. The legends read, Jovi Conservatori Augusti. Next, we go to Bacchus, the god of wine, fun and fertility. For this one, I'll first call your attention to the legends. It reads, Libero Patri Conservatori Augusti. Libero Pater, that's a name you don't hear very often. And if we want to be precise about it, Libero Pater and Bacchus are different deities. Maybe one had its origin earlier into Roman history, while the other is a clear import of the Greek Dionysus, but they were very often considered the same god, as they basically represented the same ideas of liberty, inebriation, wine, partying, fertility. Its symbolic animal is a panther. Dionysus spread the art of winemaking around the world and traveled mounted on a panther. Now let's look at Neptune, the god of the sea. We have some very interesting mythological creatures on Neptune's issues. In this example we have here, we can see the hippocampus, a creature half fish, half horse. Roman art commonly depicts Neptune crossing the seas riding a chariot, and that chariot is pulled by 4 hippocampi. The legends read, Neptuno Conservatori Augusti. On some rarer issues, the hippocampus is replaced by a capricorn, a creature half fish, half goat. It's a bit harder to distinguish one from the other in these coins, but typically the hippocampus has a bit of a longer nose, and the capricorn, of course, has some very long horns, while the hippocampus just has 2 stubby horse ears. Not all coins of the Zoo series were issued under Gallienus. His wife, Empress Salonina, also had some coins struck on her name. If we take a quick look at the obverse of this piece, we see it's quite similar to that of her husband. We have the Empress with this very elaborate hairstyle. Instead of the spiky headdress symbolizing the sun, we have under her bust a crescent, so that's the moon. And the legends read Salonina Augusta, so Salonina the Empress. The coins struck for Salonina celebrate Juno, wife of Jupiter and queen of the gods. Juno is represented by an elk. At first glance, one might mix these up with the deers on the coins celebrating Diana, but Diana only shows up in coins of Gallienus, while pieces struck for Salonina always celebrate Juno. The legends read, Juno Conservatori Augusti. Now for the 2 rarest deities of the series, sadly I don't have coins in my collection, but since they are very fascinating, it's worth putting some pictures up on the screen and discuss these coins as well. The first one is Mercury, or Hermes as the Greeks called him, the god of speed, travelers, commerce and communication. For Mercury, we have a very curious creature, the Cryocamp. This is yet another sea-dwelling being, this time half fish, half ram. I can only assume Creocamps were close cousins to the Hippocamps and the Capricorns, given its appearance. The ram was Mercury's symbolic animal, and since long-distance travel, something Mercury represented, was often carried out by sea, it's fitting that this animal had the back part of a sea monster and the ram. The legends read, Mercurio Conservatori Augusti. And finally, we wrap things up with Hercules, the legendary hero. He has as his symbolic animals the lion and the boar, both very esteemed in the ancient world for their ferocity and aggressiveness, so very fitting animals for him. In his famous 7 labors, Hercules had to stun and kill a lion, the Nemean lion, and use its tough skin as a form of armor to protect him in his remaining tasks. In another ordeal, he had to fight the Erymanthian boar, bringing the animal alive to the Mycenaean king. These 2 issues are probably the less common and more desirable of the entire series, so if you want to complete the series, prepare to spend an unreasonable amount of money in a small coppery debased coin of Gallienus. But hey, these ones are from Hercules, they're fascinating and really worth collecting. And here it goes, yet another wonderful little series of ancient Roman coins that you can consider collecting. Have you got a coin from the Gallienus Zoo series? Let us know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like and consider subscribing if you did. Happy collecting, and I'll see you soon.